back talking about Barrie with our local expert, Colby Marshall.
Got some big news coming up in Barrie. Barrie's reviewing their zoning bylaw to change the legislation around their detached suites. So we are still seeing a gradual rise. This is for detached homes in the Barrie area. So we've actually broken over the $800,000 price point for detached homes on average, which is ridiculous. It's literally jumped, $200,000 since COVID. This is actually the site that we are building that was in the newspaper of people being very upset on it. So we've got 3 bedrooms up and 1 bedroom down, 3-level back split in the existing home. This is a 620 square foot with the full basement garden suite. So you see the orange pins there. The surveyors just came out to pin it. We've got the hole dug. And we'll show you the next steps from there.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and we're back talking about Barrie with our local expert, Colby Marshall. Hey, Colby, how's it going?
Good, you?
Good. I'm excited to hear what's going on in the Barrie, Simcoe County, Orillia area. And before we jump into the presentation you've got, just any general updates? Business is going well?
Yeah, no, we're extremely busy. We got 10 detached suites we're doing right now between Barrie and Orillia. So we've got 3 in the ground right now. We're breaking ground on 3 more in 2 weeks. And we have 4 more in the permit stage. So we're ramping up big time. The nice weather is definitely helping. We've got some big news coming up in Barrie. Barrie's reviewing their zoning bylaw to change the legislation around their detached suites. So we're going to touch on that today. And then we actually have some site visits as well from some of the detached suites that we are building currently. So I'm happy to show those with people so that they can see what we're doing, how we do it, and we got the stats as well. So some really good information for this month.
Awesome. Really excited, Colby. I know people are going to be excited to be able to see those photos and really just, understand what's going on. So let's jump into the presentation if you want to pull it up here.
Today, we're going to go over the May market update for Barrie and Orillia. Some of the things that we'll go over today, stats for Barrie and Orillia as per usual. So we'll go over inventory, what's going on price-wise. The big kicker for this one is Barrie is changing their zoning bylaws for garden suites. There's a public meeting coming up. So we're going to discuss how we can, have your voice heard. You can be in the know of what's going on. So we'll touch on that later in the presentation. And we actually have some GoPro videos of one of our detached suites that we're currently building in the Barrie area. This site was actually in the newspaper about neighbors complaining. So I'm a little excited to go over that, show the people what's going on, how we're doing things. So we'll get right into it. So we'll start off with some stats. Average sale price, shocker, prices are still going up. Not as much as they were, not huge jumps like we've seen from December to January, but we are still seeing a gradual rise. This is for detached homes in the Barrie area. So we've actually broken over the $800,000 price point for detached homes on average, which is ridiculous. It's literally jumped, $200,000 since COVID. So things are still climbing. We're seeing inventory and things like that going in different directions. So that's basically where we are with the average sale price. She's still going up. Now, this is a bit of an interesting slide. Number of active detached listings in Barrie. So we've seen a huge increase in inventory in March. So what I'm kind of seeing here is we had an early spring market. We had an influx of inventory in March. Everything seems to have sold off. We still do have about a week left in May, so that May bar might go up a little bit. But looks like we did have an early spring market, and inventory might be coming down again. But usually closer to summer, we do see, the inventory coming down a bit because people are hoping to go on vacation and travel and spend time with their family. Kids are out of school. In this wacky year, God knows what's going to happen. Everyone's been out of school for so long, and who knows if they can go anywhere. So interesting to see what's going to happen over the summer. But with the increasing prices, I'm sure there'll still be people that will be looking to sell.
Yeah, really appreciate you sharing that perspective, and definitely interesting to see that, earlier in the year bump.
Yeah, so the early spring markets, they do happen. The media is really pushing the hot real estate market, so I think that's really helping things along as well. This next chart here is for Barrie. It's list price versus sold price. So we are still seeing, competing offers, things going over list. Something that we've noticed a little bit on our end is values have started to kind of plateau almost. We're still getting competing offers. There's lots of buyers still in the marketplace, but we're not seeing huge jumps in sold prices. They're kind of staying relatively around the same price point, give or take, $25,000, depending on how many offers are on there. So we're watching that pretty closely. But again, with the chart we just seen and decreasing inventory, that's all part and parcel. So if inventory continues to diminish, we might see the spread between the green and the blue get a little larger as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's update for Barrie. Orillia average sale prices, we had a huge jump in May. Went way up over 600,000, probably getting close to 700,000 for an average detached home in Orillia, which blows my mind. Probably from us doing all these videos telling everybody where to go, but yeah, it's way up over 600 now. We're seeing less and less properties in Orillia that are coming up that are meeting the criteria. You know, we were doing about a deal a week there for investors getting large lots in the Orillia area. Right now, we're not seeing very much good inventory coming on, but you know, if things are cooling down a little bit for the summer, that might have something to do with it as well. So number of active detached listings in Orillia. Again, looks like we had a great start to the early spring market, March, April. Huge amount of inventory on the market. Now inventory is starting to come down a little bit. So that might be, you know, a good thing for people that are thinking of selling over the summer. If inventory is marginal, then you know, you can get more premium for your houses. For investors, it means probably more bidding wars and probably higher prices. So not good for our side of business, but people looking to sell might be a good idea. There is also another week in May, so you know, that could come up closer to around the March kind of listing inventory amount. This one here, again, same as the Barrie one, list price versus sale price, detached homes in Orillia. You can see, again, it's steadily climbing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that April one had a pretty good jump from list price to sale price, and you know, they're coming a little closer together. People aren't getting that huge jump over list, but we are still seeing competing offers. So the market's still hot. Inventory seems to be coming down, so I think over the next couple months, we can still see prices rising.
Yeah, absolutely. Still looks like a very hot market.
The next thing I want to talk about, Barrie Detached Suite Bylaw is changing. So there is a public meeting being held on June 15th, 7 p.m., and it's going to be a virtual Zoom call. So the City of Barrie planning staff is proposing to change the zoning bylaw. They've had the detached suite legislation in for about 1.5 years now. They were the first one to jump on board. Now they basically are having this meeting stating to see what the planning department wants to do, and they're also going to be public input of how they can tweak this bylaw to make it more efficient for Barrie. Not overly thrilled with this. You know, we just got everything streamlined, ready to rock. So if anybody wants more information, we'll be putting this public meeting on our Facebook page, so keep an eye out for that once this video goes live. Some of the things that they're looking to change is minimum lot area requirements for single-story and two-story detached accessory dwellings. This is interesting right now. It's 10% of lot size, so they're probably going to put a cap on this, which I think is probably not a big deal. This two-story detached accessory dwellings, they're not allowed 2 stories at this particular point due to height restrictions. So curious to see how that's going to shake out. They're going to establish different minimum development standards for 1 stories and 2 stories. I think this is going to reflect on the side yard, rear yard setbacks. This will increase privacy for the neighbors and things like that. Currently, right now, we can be 2 feet off of the lot line under an accessory dwelling unit. I think they're going to increase that to probably 2 or 3 meters. So there's further setbacks. You're not right in somebody else's backyard. Because every detached suite we built, you know, the neighbors are pretty upset that we're building a big building right there. So larger setback requirements, I could see that being a good idea, especially with you know, the excavation pits that we have. We need a certain amount of setback to have a safe and proper pit. We usually have to have about 6 feet off our lot lines anyways for our full basements. The next one is maximum gross floor area requirements. So we're going to see, again, if they're going to cap that off, if it's going to be gross floor area reflects not just the footprint, but the total amount of finished floor area. So if it's a 1-story, 2-story finished basement, the gross floor area would be all those floors. So there will be maybe a cap on that as well. This one, the next point there is they're going to allow private garages and basements aren't permitted. So curious to see how that's going to shake out. So maybe you could have your main floor garage with a living unit above it. Not allowing basements, we're not too impressed with that. So we're actually be saying our speech definitely at that meeting. And any investor that wants to come shake their fist at the city of Barrie, by all means, come on down.
Absolutely.
And establishing minimum driveway lengths for detached garages. So they're looking at parking again. I know right now you get away with 3 parking spots in the city of Barrie for a second suite and a garden suite. A little skimpy in my mind, but curious to see how they're going to present this and which way they're going to lean on some of these. So the meeting's June 15th, and this would have to get passed through council as well. So they could either implement something right away at the end of the June 15th meeting saying everything after this date, you have to go by the new rules. I honestly think it'll have to go through council. So, council has their summer break. So hopefully none of this will be imposed until they get back from their break in September. So we can just push as many as we can through until that happens is what we're hoping for. And we'll use the slowness of the process to our advantage in this situation. But yeah, keep an eye out for the link on our Facebook page. We'll send out the details, and anyone that wants to speak or needs help, any questions on what's going on, feel free to give us a call. We're an open book. So.
Yeah, really appreciate you sharing this with us, Colby. And, it's unfortunate, and maybe we'll touch upon it later, but it's hard for me to at least not look at a couple of these rules and think that it's not necessarily about anything other than NIMBYism. Like the basement one particularly jumps out to me as like, really what underlying argument. I would think if anything, that's the least disruptive to your neighbors, right? It's like, arguably the part of the iceberg that's below the water that no one's going to see that really shouldn't be an impact whatsoever. So that's kind of surprising to see. But I know that recently with that news article and a bunch of NIMBYism. But I think the bigger thing for anyone watching this at home, whether you live in Barrie or Orillia or Simcoe County, even if you maybe never planned on doing a garden suite or an accessory dwelling type build, what's important to understand is if you want to see more affordable rental stock, right? If you want to just see housing become more affordable for people, I understand that people at first see, these investors buy a property for a bunch of money and then spend a bunch of money on it. But like this actually does create new rental stock. And even if that rental stock is at above average rental prices, it gives more options available to everyone that's looking to rent, which will put pressure on the lower priced inventory. And it's just really unfortunate to see individuals just concerning themselves about their perception of their street or their house rather than understanding the community as a whole in this aspect.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely there. So again, it is a public meeting, and some of the residents that aren't happy will have their time to speak. The investors will have their time to speak, and it's also the planning department and building department from the city of Barrie. They're the ones helping push these changes as well. So we'll get hopefully some reasoning behind what's going on in that regard for that. So hopefully, we'll be able to change some of these proposed changes. Hopefully the basements we can keep. I think that's a huge added value with the forced air natural gas furnaces that we put in and everything. I'd really hate to have to change our whole scheme, but we'll roll with the punches if it comes down to that. So
absolutely.
Next couple things, just want to tell you who we are, how we do things before we get into our video site tour. So our project management company is called MCIS, Marshall's Complete Investment Solutions. We provide end-to-end project management. We have created a program called From Purchase to Permits to Profits, where we do everything from acquisition, design, and the construction for all your investment needs. Some of the types of projects we get into are second suite conversions, triplex conversions, multifamily conversions, lot severances, infill developments, land assemblies, land development, and of course, the newest, latest, greatest garden suites and detached suites. We've got a power team you guys can connect into if you want to buy anything in the Simcoe County area. Again, we find the opportunities. We have a professional design team to help you out. We'll acquire all permit certifications. We've got 3 contracting crews work exclusively for us that specialize in multifamily conversions. We help you apply for eco credits, HST rebates. We've got an appliance distributor that we buy in bulk, so we get you deals on that as well. We've got property management, paralegals, everything you would need to just plug into if you're thinking of acquiring something in the Simcoe County area. We also use a project management software called Buildertrend. So everything we do is updated in live time right onto your phone. So any invoices, pictures of how we're doing things, all your floor plans goes right onto your app, so you can see exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. You can keep your eye on what we're doing even if you're an hour away. So we've really stepped up on the project management side in the last little while. We are a registered Terry Allen builder. We are fully insured. We got builder's risk insurance, WSIB, and we can build the garden suites legally, and they do come with a 7-year warranty because we are a registered builder with the province of Ontario through Terry Allen. So that's definitely a big ticket item. Not too many people have that as well. So
yeah, really important point there.
So next, we're going to go into, this is actually the site that we are building that was in the newspaper of people being very upset on it. So we've got some videos here basically showing the entire foundation being built. So the first slide here is the hole being pinned. So we've got the hole dug in the ground. The surveyors come out and actually pinned where the middle of the foundations are. So we'll show you what that looks like. You can see we've got to have all our safety fence up. Oh, is it getting all jittery on your end there?
Oh, just for a second there, but we're good now.
Okay.
And so this is just kind of a traditional type property that you would regularly see here, a back split that you guys would...
Yeah, so we've got 3 bedrooms up and 1 bedroom down, 3-level back split in the existing home. This is a 620 square foot with the full basement garden suite. So you see the orange pins there. The surveyors just came out to pin it. We've got the hole dug, and we'll show you the next steps from there after this video is done. So that's the hole pinned, ready for footings. Next step here is the footings being installed. So we'll start that one up.
And then, so just for people kind of watching at home that maybe this is their first video, right now, is this just an access lane that we're walking through, or will this long-term actually be a laneway here?
This won't be a laneway on this one. We'll actually do a unilock walkway to the back and expand the parking pad. So the concrete you see, the square there, those are the actual footings that have been poured and stripped. Those guys have then put the big O, see that black pipe there, all the way around the footings that goes in the sump pump, and now they're putting gravel around it. So the next step from that is you're going to be putting the walls up for the basement foundation. So that'll be the next one.
And so just for people that are curious at home, what's the rough timeline here so far from us seeing the hole dug to getting...
We started this one May 5th. So this is basically 3 weeks of work, essentially.
Progress. Awesome.
Progress. So these are the basement forms being installed. So these forms are going to be the walls, and then they're going to be filled with concrete later. So you can see how close we are to the existing homes and the neighbors. You could imagine how they are sometimes. But yeah, so those are the forms. In between there is where the concrete will go. And again, everything's really tight. So the next slide is pretty cool. We're actually pouring the basement walls over top of the house. So this big orange thing here is a big pumper truck. So we're right in the front of the house. We have to pump it up over the house. And then you can see some of the neighbors to the right, they're pointing and being very happy about what we're doing. This is actually pretty cool to watch sometimes. It's a big machine. Every time the pumper truck comes out, it's about a $1,500 charge. But you know, everything's so tight, you gotta be able to get these guys on site, and pretty neat how they do it. This can go up to about 250 feet, I think they can reach with that pumper truck. There's all those orange forms that we've seen before, all safetied up, ready for the big pour. You can see the whole footprint there. And there's that orange pumper truck coming over, and they're just starting to fill up all the forms. That's about it.
Awesome. And then once this is fully complete, what's that unit going to be again, Colby?
So that's 620 square feet, and it'll be a 2-bedroom apartment. So the upper floor will be open concept. So we'll have kitchen, living room upstairs, and then we will have 2 bedrooms and a full bath downstairs.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate that. And it's just great to be able to see the behind the scenes and get, you know, really be able to start putting some images to everything that we've talked about over the last couple of months about the projects that you're undertaking. You know, before we wrap up here, any last, you know, points or perspectives you want to share with the audience, whether it's about looking at starting a garden suite project, or whether it's looking at buying or selling an Orillia or a Barrie during 2021?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is with this public meeting coming up in Barrie, there's going to be some uncertainty of what can happen next. So if you're thinking of doing something, I wouldn't be getting too invested until we know what happens on the 15th of June, unless you can move quickly enough to get something submitted prior to that, because it could change the next day, or it could be 3 or 4 months till things change. So if you have a designer that can do a plan and get it submitted before the 15th of June, by all means, go for it. But there is some uncertainty of what's going to happen, how quickly it's going to be. So just, mind your P's and Q's on that. And don't get caught spending money on something and have to spend more money on changing it, because the city of Barrie is reviewing it. There is change coming. To what extent, I'm not sure. So just, that is coming down the tubes, and that would be the only thing that I could tell people to definitely watch for. It's an unknown at this particular point. So.
Yeah, great advice. Really appreciate Colby, and really appreciate you just kind of sharing all this information with the audience. You're always a wealth of knowledge. And for anyone that wants to get in contact with Colby, we'll have his contact information in the video description down below. I really do encourage you guys to reach out. As we've mentioned in the past, these aren't projects that you can just snap your finger and get done. So it is important you reach out proactively. If you've got a property that you already want to implement a garden suite on, again, there still is lead time behind all these things. Or if you're looking at actually buying a property, understand, as we saw with some of the data here, you're not the only person thinking about this. So again, it's important to start getting into the market now, familiarizing yourself so that when the right property does come along, you're ready to pull the trigger and take action. And I think a big part of that is making sure that you're sitting down, chatting with someone like Colby that actually has this experience, that's been there, done that. And as we've mentioned as well, like that Tarion warranty, right? Being a Tarion registered builder is actually very important overall to this process as well, because this is a big investment if you're looking at building one of these garden suites on your investment property.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, appreciate again, as always, Colby. Contact information in the video description down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for having me.